morning, good afternoon and good evening to everyone wherever you may be tuning in today's episode from around the globe. We're here at the 2024 ARA Show in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm absolutely pumped and super excited to not only be sitting down with today's guest, but also to be back here in the United States for an absolute jam-packed schedule, with today being our last day of the show and this being our final episode of our 2024 show campaign, and some would say we've saved the best till last. I'm accompanied by the current and the 61st President of the American Rental Association, President and owner of Brainerd General Rentals based in Baxter, Minnesota, father of three, the extremely rental connected and one of the most engaging speakers that I've ever laid my eyes on, described as a servant leader, a connector, and recognised for his notable authenticity. I'd like to pass on a warm welcome to Mr. Steve Mouse. Steve, welcome to the Rental Journal.
Yeah, good day to you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you, Steve. We met very briefly last year in Orlando at the 2023 show after my exchange program here with the ARA in the United States. Last year being your first show as ARA President, today being the fifth and final day of the 2024 show here in New Orleans. Steve, I'd love for you to give the audience an overview on what's been such a successful past year in 2023 for yourself as President, and also a recap of the show here in New Orleans.
Absolutely, I'd be delighted. So, for the last year, our focus has really been on an age-old issue for our industry, which is creating awareness. So really telling our story in such a way that engages our audience, gets our audience to participate, whether that's as a customer or bringing new people into our industry that are looking for either ownership opportunities or careers. And to that end, programs like this allow us to continue to tell our story. So our last year is really focused on engagement with our membership. So we've had over 150 different events across the United States and Canada, which make up our 10 regions of the American Rental Association. And to that end, we've been able to share with folks what's really important for telling our story. So a lot of folks, I just left a workforce development session that started this morning with 350 local students that are learning more about the equipment and event rental segments. And they really don't know anything about our industry. You may think rental or hire in Australia, and they may think cars, automobiles, homes, but they may not think about equipment or event opportunities. So the last year has really been about that engagement, telling our story in unique ways. And by doing that, we both tap into folks that may be interested in pursuing a career in rental, those folks that may need our services, but also engaging our membership because our voice is amplified when we're together as one. So the last year has been a whirlwind. I've traveled all throughout the United States and Canada, engaged a lot of wonderful people. If you know anything about the equipment and event rental industry, it's made up of just phenomenal people, just people you just really want to spend time with. And all of them have a really fun and unique story. Some of them were born into the industry. Some of them maybe acquired or came in from the outside of the industry. But hearing their story and the ability that we have to then share that story with others has been the best part of this past year. So to that end, that's really what I've been involved with, that engagement. And then that's just been capped off by the show here, 2024 in New Orleans. And we've continued to have, as we usually do, really engaging speakers starting out on Sunday, a lot of education around both personal and professional development opportunities, a lot of education around safety, a lot of education about how we can encourage more folks to come into our industry. Diversity gets used quite a bit, but diversity just not only of ethnicity, but also of thought. And so we've encouraged a lot of folks to engage with our industry. And so that all happened on Sunday. And then, of course, the trade show floor is really where the rubber meets the road. That's where the action's at, right? You get a chance to get your hands on equipment, ask questions of different manufacturers and vendors. And that's really been a lot of fun this week, just engaging from folks all across the country, all across the world.
Steve, you just mentioned the word hire in Australia. I heard that you're actually coming over to Oz for our show this year in Brisbane, doing maybe a bit of a stopover in New Zealand as well.
Absolutely. My wife and I are very excited. We're actually planning, it's obviously a bit of a journey, so we're planning a month-long visit. So we will spend some time in New Zealand, and had an opportunity this week to meet with the folks from the Hire Association in New Zealand, as well as their current president. And then likewise the folks in Australia, and looking forward to a great show in Brisbane. Travel up to Cairns and the Daintree Rainforest and down to Sydney, and really just looking forward to a great opportunity to explore and connect with folks, and that's the best part about my job and what I'm doing with the association.
Well, we're looking forward to having you. Steve, prior to purchasing Brainerd General Rental in 2002, joining the equipment rental industry, you actually spent quite some time with your wife living overseas, moving back to the US, being in Chicago, Dallas, and then shortly after acquiring Brainerd General Rental, moving your family to Minnesota. Steve, kick us off, how did you first become involved in an overview of your journey so far in the equipment rental industry?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So you just recapped a little bit of my history there, and prior to coming into the equipment rental industry, I was working for a Fortune 500 company in the Chicagoland area, and 3 young kids, 6, 5, and 1, and was really looking for an opportunity to have a business that my wife and I could call our own, raise our kids in a community that we felt would benefit them, would be a healthy place to raise our kids. And so really the story begins to look at opportunities for getting into a small business. And so at that time, our parents, fortunately my wife's parents and my parents are both still alive to this day. This was 22 years ago. We were both raised in Minnesota, so we began to look at different opportunities. And it just so happened there was a really small equipment rental business back in 2002 that caught our eye, and we were able to make that acquisition. I was 35 at the time, and was able to fulfill every dream imaginable. Our kids grew up in a community that they absolutely adore and love. I grew up in an industry that I absolutely adore and love, and fortunately has flourished the time that we've been there.
Steve, Brainerd General Rental initially being founded in 1993, obviously yourself purchasing it back in 2002, to now gaining such an amazing amount of exposure for your business with the work with the American Rental Association, growing your rental fleet, constructing a completely new look for the Brainerd brand at your location in Minnesota, achieving immense year-on-year revenue growth. Wow, you've had quite a journey so far, but I'd love for you to start with who is Brainerd General Rental, the equipment lineup that you offer, the customer base that you support, and the history and the origin story of the company.
Yeah. So when we first started back in 2002, or when I first became engaged with it, it was like any small equipment rental business in the United States. It targeted primarily the homeowner market, pretty broad selection of smaller equipment, general tool equipment. Over that time, we did not, at that time, we did not have any dealer relationships. We weren't representing or selling any brands at that time. Over the years, we have partnered with a number of different manufacturers that we are now a dealer for them. To give you some idea of the geography that we're in, we're about 2.5 hours north of Minneapolis, St. Paul in Minnesota. The area that we call home is filled predominantly with lakes. We have more lakes than land. So it's for us, we believe, a beautiful part of the world. And a lot of folks tend to vacation in our area, so they have second homes in our area. So it is a smaller community, more of a rural community. And as such, we are really dependent on those folks bringing outside dollars into our community. So over the years, over the last 20 plus years, we've really began to expand our fleet. We are in northern Minnesota, which means we have a lot of trees at height, 60, 80 feet. Aerial lifts tend to be a big part of our fleet. We also, everything that's related to woods. So when you think about chippers and stump grinders and things that would address managing the forest, is part of our fleet. And then we do a lot of dirt and earth moving equipment. So whether it's rubber track skid loaders, excavators, We do have a large fleet of telehandlers as well. Anything to manage the landscape that we live in and care for it in a proper way. That has allowed us to then partner with a lot of folks that serve that industry in our community. The last couple of weeks, in fact, just before the show, I like to have some one-on-ones, whether it's a coffee, a lunch, or just to sit down in their office with folks that are our primary principal customers. And I always share with them that our success is solely dependent on their success. And so we look at ways that we can partner by doing that, and our fleet is in response to their needs, and principally that's addressed by those items I referenced.
Steve, after 2 decades in business, excelling in the equipment rental industry, achieving near 30% growth in revenue throughout the COVID period of 2020 to 2021, if you could run us through the expansion, the growth of the company since you first initially acquired it in 2002 to the rental store that we all see it as today.
So we live in a different world over the last 5 years. We all know that, and folks have an opportunity to live and work wherever they like, and obviously technology allows us to do that. And so we have a lot of folks that have made a choice to move to our part of the world, and as a result, our community has grown significantly, especially over the last 5 years. Folks that had a secondary residence made that their primary residence. So we were a beneficiary of that. And so whether it was building a new home, whether that was remodeling that home that they already had, whether that was improving the home and having outdoor living spaces. We know how outdoor living spaces have grown significantly over the last 10 years, whether it's a big patio or deck, a barbecue where they have an opportunity to be outside. So we spend a lot of time cultivating those relationships with landscapers and contractors that have taken advantage of that growth in our community. And as such, we've been able to benefit immensely the last 5 years, and look forward to continued growth in the future.
Steve, you mentioned when wanting to move back to the US, you looked at the possibility of maybe purchasing car washes or other local small rental stores and many other types of businesses across multiple industries. But what initially drew you to purchasing Brainerd General Rental specifically, and the opportunity of entering the equipment rental industry? Has it always been obviously a goal to be a business owner?
Yes, so the goal in 2002 when we were looking at the opportunity, my wife and I were looking at the opportunity, really the principal driver for us was, to be honest, was being in a community that we felt like we could raise our kids and that they would be happy and healthy. That was the primary goal. Second to that was the work that I had done previously to coming into the industry was in a sales and marketing capacity, but part of that responsibility, I was on a due diligence team. The company I was with, when I joined the company, we were about $4 billion in revenue. When I left, we were about $12 billion in revenue, and I was on the merger and acquisition team. So when the organization would decide to make an acquisition, I was part of the team that would go out and review that acquisition during that due diligence period to determine if that business could be brought on board, if we felt we could integrate it into our company and be successful. So looking at businesses from the outside and determining if there was opportunity was something that fortunately I had had some training in. And so when I looked at the opportunity of the equipment rental business that we acquired, that's what I saw was opportunity. And we've fortunately we've benefited from that choice. But looking at opportunity, we look at really it's accelerated for me over the last several years, but that opportunity for a shared economy, we look at sustainability, we look at folks that are fractional ownership. So you think about whether it's a Spotify account or a VRBO. Folks are no longer saying, well, I need this or that, and I'm going to fill up my garage with all of these tools and items. I will get it when I need it. And so we saw that opportunity. It's quite honestly been better than I had ever predicted. And as a result, it's going to continue to flourish because we've raised a whole generation. My kids are all in their 20s now, and they all experience this mindset where I can do what I want, where I want, if I tap into the right resource and the right folks that are knowledgeable and can support me. In our case, when folks are looking for, in our industries, whether it's on the event side or in our case, specifically the equipment side, they can tap into an organization that has not only the physical resources, but the knowledge around those resources. So in terms of educating our customer base, in terms of not only what we have to offer, but how it works and how it can apply to their specific project, has allowed us to continue to flourish. And I think that we're raising a whole generation, and certainly in this country, and I would imagine across the world, that's looking for that resource to help guide them through that process.
Steve, from my perspective, yourself as an owner, and you very much put a massive focus on your team and also the involvement of your community in your local area. You've obviously had amazing success with some amazing people and team members, but what would you see as the biggest contributors to the success of your company during your ownership at servicing the Baxter area?
So, we've been fortunate enough. Have folks that have been on board since I acquired the business. That the first hire that I made still is employed with us 22 plus years later. So we have a really seasoned team, a very knowledgeable team. But certainly the success is the engagement of that team. So I joke that over the last 20 years, we've had people walk into the store and say, have approached me and said, yeah, I'd like to speak to the owner. I spoke to him yesterday, and it wasn't me that they spoke to, and which I absolutely love, the fact that that our folks are presenting themselves in such a way that our customers see them as having the authority or responsibility to be able to answer questions, to be able to provide solutions, and do it in such a way that they're not always looking over their shoulder as to what they should or shouldn't say. So that's certainly been a key to our success, is having a completely engaged workforce. Additionally, for us, you referenced community involvement. We're very visible in our community. It's important to us, not only in terms of spreading our message and who we are, but it's extremely important in terms of what we feel is a personal responsibility to our community, that our community will be better off because we are a part of it.
Sure. Steve, firstly, congratulations on being named as the 61st President of the American Rental Association back in 2022, taking over from a very successful past president in Scott Owen from Deluxe Rentals in Michigan. Prior to your role as president, exposing yourself to the equipment rental industry, attending your first ARA show back in 2003. I probably would have only been about 12 months old at that stage, but becoming the equipment rental SIG chair in 2018, servicing on the ARA executive committee from 2019 to 2021, and sitting as a member of many advisory groups over the years. Steve, you've really prioritised your industry involvement, working and donating an immense amount of time to the growth of the equipment rental industry. If your daughter-in-law Lauren also working in the ARA, the association is a massive role player in not only your business but in your lives. Steve, you're quoted by saying you get more out of it than you put into it. That was the case for me. We've been doing this for 30 years in this location and doing things the only way we knew how to do them. Being involved with the ARA is important for us because we get the opportunity to learn from our peers across the country. You learn more about the rental industry, both in events and equipment, also how we can do things better and how we can make our business better. Steve, how's your work and journey with the American Rental Association over these many years contributed to your personal success, your personal growth, and ultimately the growth of your business? So,
when you look at answering the question, should I be engaged, should I be involved with the American Rental Association? For me, we're not in a large urban market. Our folks that are also in our industry are not 5 minutes away down the street where I can go over and have a conversation, or I wouldn't even know who to call based on us being detached from the Twin City market. And so the ARA has allowed me that opportunity to look outside of the bubble of the world that I live in. So our service area Our principal customer base is about 22 miles from our store. If you drew a big circle around it, that's the majority of the folks that come to our store are from there. So the only way we do rental is the only way we know how to do rental. We've learned over the years on what works and what doesn't work. My engagement with the ARA has allowed me to see that there are also other ways to do rental in terms of safety programs for our team, safety programs with our customers. It's allowed us the opportunity to send our team has been to the ARA Show, almost all of them. We rotate and bring folks down so that they have an opportunity to look at the world through a broader lens. We've sent our team to young professional conferences so they can connect with peers. So when there's a question that comes up that you encounter, and that question could be anything from staffing questions, it could come from equipment selection, it could come from utilization reports. Who do you talk to? Well, you talk to other people that are in the industry. And as I referenced earlier, the rental industry is just made up of wonderful people that love to help and support one another. So my engagement with ARA has allowed me that opportunity to meet other folks from across the country and quite frankly from across the world that have allowed me the opportunity to say, is there a better way to do what we do? And that's the nature of being a small business owner. You're always looking for, how can I do this better tomorrow than I do today? And quite honestly, that's the part that gets me excited. I enjoy it. It keeps my blood pumping. It's the reason I walk the show floor. It's the reason I engage with other members. It really allows me an opportunity to say, is there a better way that I can do it? Because nothing in life is static. And so our business certainly is not. So we cannot say, well, we figured it all out. This is the way we're doing it, and we're never going to change. That's just not, you're not going to be successful long term if you do that.
I like how you describe it as looking at it with a broader lens outside the bubble of the place that you work. It's very similar to our business, being a single location in a regional area, tying yourself with an association, whether that be an ARA or the hire association back home in Australia, really does help you diverse your ideas and what's possible in our industry. And it's been a huge resource for, I know, myself and for our family, because we wouldn't have those opportunities without our association. So I think it's a very similar place to what you've done with the ARA.
Excellent. Yeah, very good.
Steve, a few weeks ago I connected with the very well-known Josh Nickel, the current VP of the equipment rental segment with the ARA, and asked the question of, how has Steve Mao contributed to not only the success of the American Rental Association, but also the broader rental industry? So this was his amazing insight. One of Steve's strengths that contributes to the success of the industry and association is his ability to create authentic connections, which is the heart of an association, being its members. He has a heart and drive to not only connect with members himself, but also facilitate them connecting with each other. This naturally turns into sharing and working together. This is the base for everything we do. Whether it be the industry-first certifications based on shared member knowledge, or even uniting to advocate for changing tax rules that impact our industry. Steve, taking on this new role as ARA President, what are your plans for the future for the ARA, the current projects that you're working towards, and what do you see as the future of the American Rental Association?
So our association is very, very strong. Membership continues to grow, even through consolidation. Obviously, we continue to see large players continue to expand. As we talked about, the promotion of our industry is bringing more folks into it, not only customers or end users, but individuals that look for career opportunities. We will continue, I believe, to attract folks into our association because of the product and services we provide. There's this shared economy that we referenced that will continue to be a driver going forward. I don't think there's any hesitation in that. I see the association the next year or two will continue to focus on the awareness opportunities. We do have a lot of opportunity on the safety front. We've done a lot of work there. I know Australia is a leader to that end. And quite honestly, in my trip, when I visit in Brisbane down at the ARA Show, looking forward to continued conversations around how we can continue to promote safety, not only for our employees, but for our end users. Advocacy tends to always be, anytime you're in business, tends to be a driver for us. So continue to look at ways that we can advocate for what we're doing. Sustainability is very important. And so we believe that the solutions we provide as an industry continue to be both a caring and smart use of our resources and allows us to be good stewards of what we've been provided. The association will also continue to focus on how we continue to cast the doors wide open to bring more folks into our industry. So to that end, we've had some young folks that are right now walking the show floor and experiencing what rental looks like. And these folks would never have that opportunity previously. And so I just had an opportunity to address them and share with them. 16, 17, 18 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But today they'll have an opportunity to at least look at what a career in the rental industry would look like, and a place where they could fit in and contribute and have an opportunity perhaps one day to spend it abroad in Australia. So that's really where our focus is at, continuing to utilize the shared voice, collective voice of our membership. We are far louder together than we are alone, and we're far smarter together than we are alone.
It's amazing, Steve. The association and industry has taken you all over the country in the past years. Las Vegas for ConExpo, the ARA industry events, Washington, D.C., and much, much more. What are some of the favourite places and memories that you have from an ARA industry event? What's the best place that the equipment rental industry has taken you?
Well, you highlighted a few, but certainly anytime you have an opportunity. So I've been to Canada as well, throughout the country, and just really connected on a lot of different committees from folks from across the country as we share different ideas, and then going to see their operation. There's nothing like seeing an operation firsthand. Somebody can describe it to you. You can see photos. You can try and get a sense, and are they the equipment side or the event side? What's their fleet mix? But when you see it firsthand, there's a heartbeat to an operation. And that's the part I've really enjoyed. And quite honestly, there's been numerous locations across the country where when I've walked into a store and you hear somebody talk with pride about their operation, and you get to hear their history and where they see their future. And that's really feeling and sensing that heartbeat of the operation has really been a joy for me. The other part about our industry, which is really unique, is there's a lot of generational ownership. We have a lot of folks that are first, second, third, even fourth generation, where we've got folks that are born into rental, right? They were born for this. And so my own son, for example, is in our operation, has been working for us probably since he was 6, right? So just that opportunity to encounter folks, see their operation, sense that heartbeat of that operation, and really just hear their stories about how their operation, how either they came into rental or maybe how they were born into rental.
Steve, in a recent article you did with the Rental Management magazine, you conveyed that your focus going forwards is to continue to raise the professional bar of what ARA members present to customers, telling the rental industry story to a new audience and helping them take advantage and utilize the value of renting. You also mentioned there's a shifting demographic that rental companies have to further their ability to communicate with what we offer in terms of technology, environmental impact, and how customers can take advantage of the circular economy that we offer here in the rental industry. Steve, what do you see as the main areas rental companies should be focused on now going into 2024, and where do you see the future of our industry heading, especially here in the US?
Right, so there's really 2 areas of an operation, right? There is your outward persona, the ability to tell your story. So whether it's telling what products or services you offer and how you can provide a solution to a challenge that our customers may be experiencing. The other part of that is operationally, there's a lot that we have done as an industry over the last decade or so with regards to how are we more efficient. We have a lot more data points. We have a lot more information that we're able to utilize to make sure that the inventory mix that we have is not only the right mix, it's priced appropriately, it's serviced appropriately, preventative maintenance. There are a lot of ways that we can continue to evolve operationally. Our job is to make sure we're as efficient as possible. I like to use the analogy, when you think about my prior life, I was in the dairy industry. Not cows, like had my own, but we were in finished goods. So we were selling milk, ice cream, cottage cheese, sour cream, all that kind of good stuff. And when we were talking with one of my largest customers, which was Walmart at the time, I was calling on them in Bentonville, Arkansas, and I likened that conversation with the buyer at that point. And we were looking at the entire process. So you think about the raw milk gets collected, it gets processed, it gets distributed to a store, it's sold, it goes from the store to the home, and is used on cereal or a bowl of ice cream. And you think about all the steps in that process. And I liken the conversation I had with buyers at that time when they think about interacting with a salesman like me calling on them. If that buyer could have a conversation with the cow, they would, because everything else is just a wasted step, potentially. So we have to add value along the way, but we also have to look at what steps along the way can be removed so that we can tighten that process up and be more efficient. We have the same challenge in our industry. How do customers engage with us? How do they find out about us? How do they order from us? How do we communicate with them that information? So technology is our friend here. We need to figure out ways that we can make that more efficient, how we can streamline that process, because quite frankly, we have an entire generation that will not wait around for us to figure it out. You get information at your fingertips. We have this supercomputer on our wrist and in our hand, and they want that data and they want it quickly. As an industry, we need to continue to focus on operationally, how can we be more efficient, more effective, and then how do we then communicate that to the public?
Steve, how have you personally and the Brainerd brand evolved the customer experience now going into 2024? You mentioned that you'll always facilitate the old school face-to-face handshake transaction with paper, but also offer a new wave of touchless contracts which are emailed and signed on a smartphone or tablet or maybe even on your wrist like you mentioned before. But you're happy to meet the customer where they're at regarding their technology ability and how they simply want their rental experience. That you're always seeking new and better ways to do things, stand out from the crowd, separate yourself from competitors. How are you tying this customized approach into your rental store?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So during the COVID period, we actually made an operational decision. We had one of our staff members who was, his mom was living with him, and so he was concerned about exposing her to anything. So we actually made a decision in March of 2020, or shortly thereafter when COVID was becoming more pronounced, that we would actually close down our operation from outside folks. So nobody was allowed in our store. We operated as a bubble. And everything was done external, so all rental contracts were all emailed, signed electronically, and provided that safe environment for our staff. And we operated that way for 14 months, where there was no face-to-face contact. Now, when COVID lessened and we were able to reopen our doors again, we assumed that we had, and we had significant growth during that time. So we assumed that our customers would continue to want to gravitate to this new learned experience. Not the case for everyone. Some really wanted to come in, see us, interact face-to-face. And so meeting our customers where they're at continues to be something that we work towards. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. I would like to think there would be, but there's not. So we continue to look at how we can connect with our customers and meet them where they're at, and utilizing technology to do that. But also, as I referenced, the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to sit down and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation. Believe it or not, that still works.
Trying to still connect directly with the cow, I guess.
Yes, exactly. Connect with the cow. Yeah.
Steve, you've always put an emphasis and priority on enhancing the exposure of your brand locally, like you mentioned, becoming a dealer of an OEM, expanding your facility, gaining, like you mentioned, a huge customer base in your local area throughout that COVID-19 period, which ultimately led to some amazing growth of the company. With Brainerd being around for now over 30 years, what are the biggest challenges that you face as a business owner to constantly develop yourself, develop the company, and throughout your lifetime and time in the equipment rental industry, who have been some main contributors and mentors that you've had along the way?
Yeah. So, I appreciate the question. So the mentors are folks that I've been able to connect with the American Rental Association, and they're not even on the equipment side. So when John Bibbo, who has a large event rental business, so I served with John. I served with Beth Hoff Blackmer, was a previous president and board chair with the American Rental Association. These are folks that I've engaged with the American Rental Association on the national board level. And during that time period, when you think about some of our members really struggling, especially on the event side during the whole COVID-19 time period, for a period of 12 to 18 months, they were not sure if they were going to be able to operate. And so when you go through that experience together, when you're challenged together, you really lean in personally and have some really deep, meaningful connections on what's important to you, how you can perhaps reorganize your business to hopefully survive. And so that ability to really connect on a personal level has allowed me to lean into them when I'm questioning, what we should be doing, how we're expanding, or challenges that we have. We all know that, workforce gets thrown out quite a bit, and trying to attract new folks into our industry. But really, any industry, we're not unique in that. Every industry is challenged with trying to get new folks into it. We've been very fortunate to have really good people. We continue to try and engage folks. And what worked 20 years ago doesn't work today. And so I continue to look at how we can engage with our staff, our team, meet them where they're at, meet our customers where they're at, and just be open to the idea that there's always a better way.
Steve, we've obviously discussed your future plans and aspirations with your new role with the ARA, but the burning question in the equipment rental industry is always the what's next question. What's next for you, your plans for the future for yourself personally, the Brainerd General Rental brand, regarding continued exposure, growth, personal development, and expansion?
So for us, fortunately, I do have a son that's in the business, and that's kept me fully engaged. He'll be 28 in April of this year, and so that's been fun having him involved. I will tell you, about a year and a half ago, as an organization, as we continued, we had year-over-year growth, as you referenced, and it's not healthy for an organization, or at least I did not believe it was healthy for an organization to have it all funnel through one individual. And so at that time, we implemented what has become fairly popular in our industry, but across a lot of the manufacturing sector as well, which is EOS, traction. And so we developed a leadership team, and that leadership team, you have accountability charts, and you have areas of responsibility where people are accountable for it. And by engaging our team and allowing them to be part of the strategy, part of the solution, being accountable for areas that historically had all fallen on my lap, has allowed me to then begin to focus on what's next. So when I look to the horizon, I look at expansion opportunities, continued growth, acquisitions, things that allow me to focus more on working on the business versus in the business. And quite honestly, when I did that, the folks that I was able to connect with on our team and really embraced it. I was always, quite honestly, a little bit concerned that I viewed it as a burden that I would give them an area of responsibility. Like, okay, this is something that's currently on my plate that I would like to see you. I think this is an opportunity of growth for you and an opportunity I'd like to see you take this on. And I was concerned with burdening them some more. And quite honestly, instead they said, bring it, let's go, we'll take it. And it's allowed me to focus more on the future of our business and allowed them an opportunity to really, for some personal growth for them as well.
Steve, I know that as a child, your dream, much like John Jinglenaut from Rental Max, who we actually had on earlier this week, was to become a professional baseball player or maybe even an astronaut in your childhood years. But throughout your lifetime, your amazing success in the equipment rental industry, your success as a business owner, your time with the ARA, becoming a father and developing yourself along the way, how do you define success?
My family and my faith are my success. Yeah, that's it. The business is wonderful. Business provides me an opportunity to hopefully make a difference in the lives of our team, make a difference in the lives of the people that are in our community. Financial success, that's our scorecard that we use, but I don't necessarily see personal success as financial success. The success is the opportunity to connect with other people, feel like I'm making a difference, that I've added value. We all look for purpose, and that's my purpose.
Steve, thank you for your time today. Congratulations on all of your recent successes. I'm looking forward to seeing the continued growth of Brainerd brand with your son, with yourself, and what's next for the future. So thank you for coming on the Rental Journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.